because I honestly just saw my monthly contribution and I saw the projected amount after 10 years and I was like, ooh, this is a lot of money. Hi team, welcome back to another video and welcome to the channel. If it is your very first time, I really do hope that you like it here and you decide to stay. We chat about all things related to money and adulting in general, so be sure to check out our other videos as well. So guys, in a previous video I mentioned that the first investment I ever made was a big disaster, and I thought that while I still remember this, let me tell you guys about it. Now, I did not know then what I know now, and I think it's so important to have these type of conversations, because sometimes when you make financial mistakes or you make mistakes in the investments that you choose and the decisions that you make, you kind of feel like, oh no, I should have known better, why wasn't I smart enough, and all of those things. I, in my second year, decided to open up my first investment. I did not know at all, even like 30% of the things that I know now, I did not know then. I knew how to manage a good budget, and I knew how to save. I was saving quite a lot from the extra pocket money that I was making through my side hustling, right? So I knew how to save and I knew how to manage a budget, and I was using money sparingly, but I had zero knowledge about investments, and it was only in my second year. And so then the decision that I took was a big mistake, and I just wanted to unpack why this investment was a big mistake according to me. So all of us get to this point where we save money, and then we decide that, you know what, the interest that we're getting from a traditional bank account is not the way to go anymore, because we all know how small those changes are on a monthly basis when you put your money away. So I have a separate video about the difference between savings account, investments, and speculating, and all of those things. So I'm not going to dive into that, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that your money grows in that way at a bank. It only does that because that is obviously no risk, very low risk, and stuff like that. And you have access to the funds and all of those things, which I do unpack in a separate video that I will link in the cards if you want to check it out. But anyway, we all get to that point where we don't like the growth that we see in our bank accounts, and we feel like we can start investing. Some people go directly into investing, which can be a disaster on its own, depending on your situation. But that's not the chat today. So I decided that in my second year, I'm going to start my very first investment, and I was very excited about it. Obviously, I'm one person who is always ready to outsource. If I don't know something, I will find someone who knows that thing and, trust them to take me through the process and to do it for me. I don't force doing everything. I do what I know and what I'm good at, and I leave the rest to the people who know how to handle it. So during my holidays, I used to obviously work, and at work, there used to be these individuals from a specific company who would do the rounds, talking about investments and investment opportunities from that specific company. Now, I'm not going to mention the company, and the reason is because I think that my experience or my bad experience was not because of that specific financial services provider. It was because of it was not because of that specific financial services provider, but it was the representative. It was the person that came from that company that I feel like could have guided me better, especially knowing what I know now, could have guided me better, could have provided more information, and could have been more transparent and all of those things. So I'm not going to mention the company, but this individual comes to our workplace like he does all the other departments, and he mentions that, he's very knowledgeable in investments and all of those things, and I trust the company, so that much I trust. And also I really liked the company and the financial services provider in particular, because my family had used this provider for their investments. Now, we all fall guilty of this, right? We use what our families use, whether it's an account, a bank account, or an investment provider or whatever. We tend to gravitate towards what we know and what we've known our family to trust. So I think that that was probably my first mistake. I didn't do my own research into the different types of investments that are out there, how they work, the terms, the conditions, and all of those things. Before having this conversation, I went into that conversation absolutely blank and trusting that individual to do everything for me. I don't think that is the best way to go. I do think that in as much as you should always outsource, and I'll always advocate for getting, quality and good advice from people who know, but that doesn't mean that you must now close your eyes, not read anything. Sorry for that sound. Not read anything or anything like that and just give in. You must also do your fair share level of reading the documents and all of those things. So I think that was mistake number one. I didn't do my own research. I just went in blindly and believed everything that I was told. So I told this individual that I am a full-time student and I do work, and I will afford a monthly premium or a monthly investment amount that I can put away. And the goal for this investment, I had goals. The goal for this investment was a car deposit when I started working. That's what I wanted to work towards, right? And when we calculated, this was going to be about 3 years, at most 4 years from when the investment was going to start. And then he told me that, yeah, that's great. I've got the best solution for you. It grows really well. There's a guaranteed lump sum at the end and all of those things. And you're going to love the investment and whatnot. So he then introduced me to this investment that I ended up taking, which is actually an endowment. Now, already, if you know investments, you're just closing your eyes when you hear endowment, because from the knowledge that you have, if you do have knowledge, you'll know how endowment works. They're a long-term investment vehicle where you get a guaranteed amount at the end of mostly a very long term. In this case, the term was 10 years, guys. Mistake number two, like the term was 10 years. You could get the money out in 5 years, but then you didn't get the guaranteed term and all of those things. And the term was 10 years. I don't know if the term was mentioned and I skipped it, but all I know is that I told him that I'm investing towards a car deposit in the next 4 years at most. And he gave me this solution. I later found out that solution had been given to everybody, like all the departments. Whenever you were looking for an investment, whether it was 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, you were given that endowment as a recommendation, So anyway, so that was mistake number two, is that the term was just not matched to what I was looking for. Like a 10-year maturity, is not aligned to the goal that I had, which was a car deposit in the next 3 to 4 years when I obviously start working and can afford the car premium. So that was mistake number two. Mistake number three, and why it was a disaster, was that we didn't get statements. So none of us who had this investment got statements. And at the time, I thought it was okay because nobody got statements. So the only time that you could actually check on your investment was when the individual came to work, and he would then open up his iPad. It was an iPad or a tablet. Yeah, I think it was a tablet. He would open up his tablet and then kind of show you some figures and stuff. And that's when you got to see the investment, but you didn't have like an app or a statement that was being sent. Obviously, knowing what I know now, know that that was a mistake. It shouldn't have been that way. You should have been able to check your investment or get a statement for your current balance and your contributions and stuff like that if you are invested. And we didn't have any sight of the growth or how it was doing. Not only when he was there and you were busy at work and you just have a glance and then you'd look away. So that was also a mistake, in that I couldn't see how the investment was performing and what it was worth. And I'd only check it like once or twice a year when he came to work and I happened to be there, or when I called him and we had to meet. It was very, very inconvenient. And then another reason why it was just a bad idea, other than the three that I've already mentioned, is the fact that the investment initially did not increase with inflation. The contributions were not increasing. So I was contributing the same amount every year, every month, every year. The amount was not moving, right? And that is not good, because obviously with inflation, everything else is increasing in value. But if your investment contributions are not, then it means that you basically have what is worth less in the next year. So that was also an issue. And besides the term and the lack of sight and transparency, the misaligned term, what else was also an issue? The fees. So the fees were quite significant as well, which is something that I didn't check, to be honest. So I guess that's also, like a mistake on my part is that I didn't check the fee structure for the investment and what implications that had on the possible returns. So when I eventually years later started understanding investments more, started learning more about investments, I obviously reviewed this document. That's when I found out all of the things that I'm talking about now, which is the term. And then the last thing that was also an issue for me was the penalties if you wanted to withdraw earlier. Remember I said that this was a 10-year maturity, and if you wanted to withdraw within 3 or 4 years, which is when I wanted to withdraw, the penalties that you would pay were quite significant, and they would eat away at the investment like quite significantly. So that was also an issue. Yeah, man, but I think I took a lot out of that experience, and I also wanted to share my experience in the sense that I made a mistake, because I don't want you guys to think that my financial journey and financial freedom journey is like smooth sailing and there's no mistakes and there's no hiccups. That is not true. I was studying a course, a BCom, but I still made mistakes. I still did not read the contract, and all of those things. I do feel like the individual could have been, more supportive and more transparent and in explaining what is going on, especially if it's my first time investment. And I think that's why I really appreciate the environment that I work in now, personally, with the team that I'm in, because we really pride ourselves in breaking down things so that people understand what they are getting into. We highlight things, and we underline these are the implications, these are the possible returns, they're not guaranteed, and all of those things. So we really invest a lot of time in holding people's hands and making sure that they understand the decisions, the financial decisions that they are making, as opposed to just saying, there you go, sign there. Because I honestly just saw my monthly contribution and I saw the projected amount after 10 years and I was like, ooh, this is a lot of money. But at the time I wasn't thinking that it's a lot of money in 10 years, right? A lot would have happened in 10 years. Inflation would have would have grown as well after 10 years. So yeah, man, that was my first investment experience, and I was very disappointed in myself more than anything. I was actually more disappointed in myself, because given that I am so obsessed about money and making it, surely I should have taken more time in reading between the lines, understanding the terms. So after that, obviously, like, from then I read the fine print, I read every detail, and I ask the necessary questions. I still trust people to guide me where I don't know. I don't believe in doing everything myself. Even now, I don't believe in just like doing everything myself and making my own decisions. But now I'm just more aware of the right questions to ask, the right information to request, what I know that I deserve to see, and all of those things, which really, really helps in my financial journey. So financial education is important, guys, and we all make mistakes. This is not the only investment mistake that I've made. There are others, maybe one or two others that I've made in my journey because of different reasons, but we get better. We learn, we experience, we fall, and all of those things. Let me know in the comment section if you've made any investment mistakes, if you are comfortable sharing what were those mistakes and what have you done, to pick yourself up from there, because I definitely will not stop investing. That never crossed my mind. I can't just save, I need to invest. But I think I'm just more wiser in the process that I follow. And obviously I now have a trusted people that I trust to give me good advice, good quality advice, and answer my questions. So that was my experience, guys, that I thought that I would chat you through. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so we can see you in the next video. Bye.